Good afternoon and welcome to Recipes Galore. Today we are going to be making some smoky sausage rolls. Now, what we're going to need for this is a roll of sausage, 1 pound of sausage, any kind that you like. I like Jimmy Dean's. Some cream cheese, an 8-ounce package of cream cheese. And we're going to need some let me get them because I left them in the refrigerator on purpose so they wouldn't start to expand. But let me get them since we're making a recipe. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to need some crescent rolls. But leave these in the refrigerator until you get ready to use them, because when they start to get room temperature, they start to expand in the inside of here, and when you open them, the big yeah. So make sure that you leave them in the refrigerator until the last possible moment, because it will just work better for your recipe if they're cold. Just saying. But since we're getting ready to make this, I'm going to taking mine out. Now, I'm going to show you 2 ways that I do this sausage. You can do it in a roll or you can do it in a flat pan. So I have my pan and I have it lined with parchment paper. I line mine with parchment paper because it keeps it from burning on the bottom before the top gets brown. Because sometimes, you know, it depends on your oven. My oven is slow to brown on the top, but quick to brown on the bottom. So I use parchment paper to keep things that I bake from getting too dark on the bottom where they appear that they're burnt. So if you have some parchment paper, line it with parchment paper. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we grab a knife. And be careful and cut this little, okay, it wants to fall on me. I'm going to cut this little thing off of the sausage. And we're just going to squeeze it off into our skillet. Just like this. Yeah, it takes some effort to push this down, get those muscles working. Yes. Okay. Apparently, I need to lift some more weights. Now, we're going to turn the eye on. Whoops, wrong one. And I'm going to turn it to about a medium high. And because this sausage is Jimmy Dean's country mild sausage, I like the sausage that has sage in it. They didn't have any at the store, but guess what I have at home? There's always a fixer to all your problems. So I'm going to add some sage, that's the wrong one, to my sausage because I like the sausage with the sage in it. And apparently I need to go on this side. There we go. Because it's real fine and ground, and if the wind is blowing or anything is blowing past it, it just blows in the wind. So I'm going to add some sage to my sausage. Now, the thing that's going to make it smoky, and you can add this if you want to or not. Let me turn this down while I'm talking. Is I like to use the Smokehouse maple. It's actually for grilling. It's a Grill Mates, but this is so yummy on bacon and on sausage. And this is what's going to give it that smoky flavor. Now, I can also use, let me show you some of the others that I have. I have some sweet and smoky. You can use that to make it smoky. Or you can use some, hold on, there it is, the honey hickory. So there's a lot of things that you can use. I use a lot of different smoky flavors with my meats and my sauces. And I think I have one more that is, I don't see it. I think I may have used all of that one up. But it's like a brown sugar smoky sauce. So I'm just going to put some of this in here. Oh, okay. Again, for the umpteenth time, somebody, one of you all create a smell button for me. Because the smell of this stuff, it is so yummy. Now, I found this little tool at a Pampered Chef party. I love it. And it's going to squish my sausage. And turn it around. It's going to squish my sausage and get it going. It breaks up the big clumps in the sausage. I love this tool. I don't know how I ever dealt without it. Now, you can find this other than the Pampered Chef. I'm just letting you know where I got it. I went to a Pampered Chef party online on Facebook, and one of my friends, I was looking for tools that I can use in my kitchen to make cooking easier for me. And this is one of the tools that I found. And see, it just kind of makes all of that all nice and separates it. And I just keep squishing it around as the meat cooks. And I just keep squishing it around so that as it browns, you know, as it cooks, it starts to clump up again. And I just kind of just keep it going. Let me see. Mary says, I just had lunch, but you are making me hungry. Okay, well, what did you have for lunch, Mary? Share your recipe for lunch. Yeah. I'm going to just keep doing this. And if anyone else has a recipe that you'd like to see cooked on Recipes Galore, send it to me. And we'll get it online. Let's see. Cheryl Moon says, that's awesome. It is called a sausage squished. A sausage squisher. Cheryl, I don't know what this is called. I just saw it and I saw a demonstration and I clicked yes, I want that, and ordered it, and I use it. So I will go back and I will find the proper name for this tool, and I will look back over my orders and I will find the proper name for this tool, and I'll be able to get it to you. But that's a good name for it, a meat squisher. But I'm sure it could probably do mashed potatoes, or, you know, sauces, or whatever needs to be squished. So, but my sausage is almost done. Make sure that you get your sausage fully cooked and get all the oil, most of the oil out of there, because you do not want a soggy sausage roll. I promise you. Nobody likes to eat a mouthful of just grease. At least I know I don't. And see, it's almost done. And all of my sausage is pretty much separated. And that's what you want. You want it separated, because we're going to make a sausage roll. One that you can cut in little circular sections, and one that is more like a pancake, should I say, or more like a sandwich. But we want this to cook thoroughly. No little pink spots in there. The last thing we want is to have some bad eating. uncooked meat. That's the last thing you want. So make sure that you get all the pink spots out of here. All of this sausage is cooked. And it doesn't take long to cook it, especially when you cook it this way. Now that it's cooked, now would be a good time to turn your oven on to 350 degrees. Now, I'll put that right there. And we're going to open up our cream cheese. There we go. Make sure it's wide open. Now, let me grab my handy utensil so I'm draining the oil off of here so the oil does not go into my recipe. I want the sausage and I want the spices, but I don't want all that oil that comes with the meat. Now, if you find some lean sausage meat, that's great too. That's all you have to deal with. There we go. Almost done. And then we're going to add our cream cheese to it. I'm going to taste it to see if it's smoky enough for me, because I don't want it to be salty. And I know that smoked seasoning has salt in it, and the sausage itself has salt in it, and I don't want it to be too salty. I want it to have flavor, but I don't want it to be too salty, because if you take this to a party, you don't want to give, make somebody's high blood pressure go even higher. So, we're getting all of this delicious meat out of here. Just a little bit more in here. And you can see the oil, hold on, see the oil that's left in the pot? Let me turn it this way. I don't know if you can see that in there. But anyway, there's oil floating around in the pot. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add our cream cheese. And I like to add it in little chunks. Hold on, let me move this back over here, this way, so you can see me. Okay, my cream cheese just went flying, but y'all didn't see that. That's what happens when you're experimenting in the kitchen. We're gonna put this in here in little chunks. Now, I did let my cream cheese sit out for like about an hour before I started the recipe so it can soften up, because the heat from your sausage, and that's important, as soon as you get done with the sausage and put it in a bowl, you drain the grease and put it in a bowl. You want to put your cream cheese in there immediately, because the cream cheese needs to melt. The heat from the sausage will melt the cream cheese. So you want a creamy substance. So this is like, hold on, I didn't taste my meat. Perfect. Got just enough salt and just enough smokiness. You know what? I'm going to use this spatula and see if this works better for me. There we go. Now, it's getting nice and creamy. And let you see what's going on in my bowl. It's getting nice and creamy. And get it all mixed together. That creamy sauce. I tasted this recipe when I used to live in Florida, and I was a nanny for, what should I say, I was on assignment. I was taking care of 3 children from 3 different families. They were there visiting the beach in, was it Grayton Beach? Yeah, Grayton Beach. And one of the moms was a chef. So every morning she would make these fabulous meals, and I was invited to come and have breakfast with them. So one morning I got there early because they had were having an early start, and she was making this, and I was like, "What is that?" And she showed me how to make it. It was so simple and easy. Man, I said, shoot, I'm taking this to all my parties. I said, they're going to think I'm this fabulous chef. I'm going to be, you know, it's going to be on and popping. Because when I tasted it, I was like, oh, yum. I would have never thought to do this. And she's like, it's so simple, so easy. The kids love it. And they think it's, you know, the best thing since sliced bread. Now, while I'm going to mash this out so it can cool off a little bit. Do like my grandmother used to do with my oatmeal when I was little. She used to mash it out so it can cool off, because we want this to cool off some before we put it into our casing, our croissants. Now, this is the part. I'll put this over here. I'm going to put that over there and bring this way so you can see what I'm doing. I'll turn it around this way. And there we go. Now, as we unroll this, be very gentle with it. I bought the Grand's Crescent Rolls, but you can do this with the regular Crescent Rolls. This one is just a little thicker. And I got it a little thicker because I wanted to do something totally different with my recipe. Now there are 4 in here, 4 little sections in here. So what I'm going to do with one of these, I'm going to squish, if you can see this, make sure these little sections right here are nice and tight. Squish them together so they won't come apart, because we're going to put this on top of here, and that's going to be our sandwich one that we're going to make. So once I get ready to put this on top of that, I will thin it out some so that it will fit on top, and I will squish it together. But what we're going to do is we're going to put our filling, some of our filling inside of here. Make sure you don't take it all the way to the edge, because you want those edges to be pinched together, so your filling will stay inside of your crescent rolls. And you don't need a thick layer of it. Just a little thin layer will do. We're just going to spread this out on here. Make sure I leave room at the edges to put my top on. There we go. Spread that a little bit further. Now, let me show you what I have here. See, we left room around the edges so that you can, when you put the tops on, you'll be able to, hold on, grab that over there, gravitate that way. You'll be able to squish the sides. Now you can squish the sides with your fingers, you can use a fork, you can use one of those fancy pastry tools, whatever you want to use to make it work for you. That's what you use to make it work for you. Now, I'm going to put this on here this way, and I'm going to squish the sides with my fingers. sure that the top and the bottom come together. Now I'm going to put this one on top of that one, and make sure you squish the middle. Make sure that middle part is all attached together. Push that together and down on the sides, and just kind of squish it together, and there you go. It's like a sausage, cream cheese sausage pie. There we go. Now that's one method that we're going to use. Now the other method, let me grab this other one. The other one we're going to do is going to be a roll. So that you can, once it's done, you can slice it. Okay, maybe I didn't have the right. Oh, I need to practice my muscles. My muscles aren't going. Okay, so now we're going to slowly unroll this because we want it to be a roll. We're going to put two of these together. Okay. Okay, let me roll that down there. Now I can put this back in here. And I'll use that a little bit later. Okay, so now what we're going to do with this one is make sure that you squish this together too. Make sure the middle, that center section where it kind of perforates, make sure those perforations are squeezed together. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the middle and make like a little roll. We're going to grab our sausage and we're just going to put it right down the center of this and create a roll. A little bit more. There we go. So let me show you how that looks. See, that sausage meat is right down the middle on top of that perforated line that we squished together. Okay? Now we're going to take the sides. I'm going to take this and roll this way. I'm going to take this one and roll it this way. Now make sure that you squeeze it together so that your roll sticks together and it doesn't fall apart. Because as it starts to rise in the oven, it'll just flip-flop like that. Make sure it's squeezed together. Okay. Now, I also squeeze the ends so it doesn't ooze out of the ends. So make sure that make sure it looks, whoa, scooch back. It looks like a roll, a little sausage roll. Now what we're gonna do so that it will bake and won't flip open, to ensure that it won't flip open, we're gonna flip it over this way, on this side, and make sure that we pinch the top roll. Make sure it's all pinched together, and we have a roll. Now, we're gonna bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. Now, you know your oven. If your oven cooks faster, you might want to check on it at like 10-15 minutes because it may cook faster. My oven cooks faster. It's always 10 minutes ahead of whatever the recipe says. So I always check to make sure that my recipe, whatever I'm cooking, is not burning in my oven. Now, if your oven cooks right on time, then set your timer for 15 to 20 minutes. So we're gonna cook these on 350 degrees for about 20 minutes, and they should come out all nice and brown. Now, another tip, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, and you want this nice little crusty glaze on there, take you an egg, one egg, and scramble it in a bowl, and a teaspoon of milk, and scramble it in there too. And then just brush it across the top, and you'll have this nice glaze on top of your crescent rolls. But that's optional. You don't have to do that. That's just optional. Makes it look all fancy and pretty. Now, I'll be back to show you the end results. I'll put it in the comments. I'll show you the end results when I take this out of the oven. Thank you all for cooking with me today. And you can find this recipe and other delicious recipes on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AskTheNanny. Be sure to subscribe while you're there, and you'll never miss a meal. And we will see you all next week on Recipes Galore.